got to realize that. And if you are someone who really likes to achieve, who, like I said, ticks things off, checks all the boxes, loves to get things completed, and you're in a Hello everyone and welcome to Wavelength. I'm your host Waveney, and in this episode I am going to share something that will shift your perspective that you did not know that you needed. Are you ready to get on the same wavelength? Great. So I feel like this message is coming at an opportune time because we're still in January and you may be still planning your goals, your objectives. You may be sharing them with your team, or they may have been handed to you, and you may be reflecting, you know, back at last year and thinking about the fact that you didn't accomplish this or you didn't accomplish that. And I feel like what I'm about to share with you will really help you shift your perspective on time, how you prioritize, how you look at your tasks, look at the things that you have to do. So just a little bit of a backstory, just bear with me a little bit of a backstory. I was reading an article this week and I wanted to share with you a snippet of it, but I'm going to link the video, the Instagram clip or reel of it down in this video so that you can get the full perspective. So there was this interview being done on the Mel Robbins show, and she was interviewing someone. Mel Robbins is an author. She got really famous because she authored this book called The 5-Second Rule, and basically she's saying that there's this gap, there's this window of 5 seconds before our brain starts overthinking stuff. So think about getting up in the morning, your alarm goes off and you're just lying there, and literally it's 5 seconds before you decide, listen, I am going to get up, or you're deciding to just lay there and just hit the snooze button. 5 seconds. And what she's saying is that if we make the decision to move, to take action within that window, that our lives will be much better, will be more productive, and so forth and so on. You can get her book, but that's just a backstory. So she had this guest on her podcast, and I'm going to read a snippet for you and then get into what I'm talking to you about. So when I read the article, it's called The Laundry Cycle Theory, right? So Mel is saying, I'm probably not the only person that looks at a pile of laundry and I see it as evidence there's something wrong with me that I can't get laundry done. And the guest, whose name is Casey Davis, she says, we're used to going, is the laundry done or is it not done? Your laundry exists in a cycle. You have clothes that are clean in your closet. You have clothes that are on your body. You have clothes that are dirty on the floor. You have clothes that are dirty in the hamper. That's a cycle. It's okay for any of it to be in that cycle. And it's against that backdrop that I wanted to bring you this episode. And you may be thinking, well, hey, Waveney, wow. What is it with this cycle and whatever? Go look at the reel, like I mentioned before, down below. But it got me thinking, because I looked at the reel and it got me thinking about cycles and seasons. Because what the guest on her podcast is saying is that we beat ourselves up for not getting things done. In this case, it was the laundry. We beat ourselves up for not getting things done when life is a cycle, when these things in our lives exist in a cycle. And I started thinking about me, about my work, about work in general. And I thought it would be it's a really great perspective. It's a mindset shift And if you're ambitious and you're driven like me, you know, you want to get things done. You like checking things off. You like completing things at the end of the day or the end of the week. And, you know, part of why you and I are successful is because we get stuff done, right? We get stuff done and we pride ourselves in that. But as you grow in your career, you will find that your time is limited. It's always been limited. It's just that you have more responsibilities. You know, your boss gives you a deadline, you're all over it. But thinking back to last year, what are those things that you didn't complete, those projects that didn't get done, those projects that, and I shouldn't say didn't get done, that it's still in the cycle? What are those things, right? We tend to look at our work like that, black or white, and you know, it isn't like that. Maybe that project that you haven't checked off as completed, you're waiting on other people, you need more information, you stumbled onto a challenge that, you know, brought up a host of other things that you need to fix or the company needs to fix before you move forward, right? And so I want you to think about that. So last year I found myself in a similar predicament, right? I find myself, when I think back about last year and at the end of last year, I found myself beating up myself, right? Beating up myself because I had not been as successful or as, you know, consistent on the People's Brand platform, right? I'm sure you would know this because you haven't seen a wavelength video in a while. And so part of how I measure my success is my ability to show up consistently. It's not just about the likes or the shares, right? Because it's still a growing, People Brand is still a growing company. It's about my ability, that's one way I measure it, to show up consistently for you, for my viewers, for myself, because this is something I really love. And I found myself beating myself up because I wasn't creating and producing content as much as I would like. But what I didn't realize was this. I have a full-time job, right? The People's Brand is not all that I do. I have a 9-to-5 job that I am the director of human resources for a luxury resort, right? I manage a department. I'm in HR, and so HR, even though I have great people working with me, I wouldn't say for me, but with me, my team is absolutely amazing. HR is a big role, right? We're the gatekeepers of the company's culture, and that's a big role. And so that in itself, you know, it's huge, right? So I still work a 9-to-5. I'm not realizing that there were so many changes. Like last year was a year of change. In my 9-to-5, there were so many changes going on in the organization and so forth. And then on top of that, there were a few projects that, you know, I was involved in. I remember thinking at the end of the last quarter, I was so tired in September. And that is what would happen. I would come home from my 9-to-5 trying to get all the things done, trying to be all the things for all the people, trying to show up in my role. I still have a personal life and all that, but I would be so tired. And so my company, the People's Brand, it suffered a bit. You, my audience, suffered a bit, right? I didn't get to go out much. I was tired a lot, like I mentioned, and I'm doing all these things. I'm still trying to operate as if my life is normal, like it's regular, right? And that wasn't the case. And I bring up this story, I share this story with you because we have a tendency to think that the people that we see online are perfect and everything is going well and so forth. But the truth of the matter is we're all humans. We all face challenges. There are things going on in our lives. And I wanted to bring this to the forefront for you, to you, to help you to see that sometimes we're in a particular cycle of our lives, right? We're in a particular cycle. Sometimes there are certain things that need our attention, okay? And we've got to understand and we've got to realize that. And if you are someone who really likes to achieve, who, like I said, ticks things off, checks all the boxes, loves to get things completed, and you're in a stage or you're at a phase where that is not happening, you can have the tendency to beat up on yourself. And I'm here to tell you, it's not you, it's just the cycle. What cycle are you in, right? And so our work has a cycle. Our work has a cycle. And here's some situations, here's some things that may be going on in your job that really calls for us to pay attention to these areas. And we may have to focus all our attention and all our energy, all our time. We may have to put time into these projects and take away time from other projects. And it's okay to know that that's okay. We just have to be aware, right? We can't be all the things all the time. I know that, and that's a hard lesson for me. One that I have to keep learning because I think that I can do it all, and sometimes I forget the limits of my my humanity, right? So here's some situations that may be going on or that can cause you to be in that cycle, right? Taking up your time, your energy, your resources. So right now, this is January at the time of this recording, and you're planning your goal and objectives, and maybe you haven't gotten them yet. Maybe you're still looking in your organization. Everybody's still looking at last year's figures, are just rolling in the actual figures to determine and plan the metrics for this year. And so you may be planning your goals and objectives. Also, you have to think about, after you've gotten those goals and objectives, you have to share that with your team. Now, if you have a small team, maybe it's easy. If you have a larger team, maybe the communication will take a little bit longer. But if you're a leader, you need to ensure, it's your responsibility, you need to ensure that each member of your team buys into that vision and understands how their role impacts the overall goals and objectives. And sometimes that can take time, right? You may think that, hey, I'm just going to roll this out today, and it actually might take you a whole week, and you might be still trying to get all the things done. And this, this is important. So understand that, understand your cycle and understand where you're at. Okay. Department restructures, that's a huge one. And we're talking about layoffs and redundancies, or even people leaving voluntarily in organization. You have to restructure your whole department, and that person leaving, it may be a critical role, and so you have just to reorganize everything, because unless you have somebody waiting on hand to fill that position, you're going to go through a restructuring. And even if you have someone waiting, you still have to spend the time to train that person. And so these are things that are going on. Performance appraisals. Some companies do it at the end of the year, some do it at the beginning of the year. This is a huge one. If you have a large team, it's going to take time, and it's okay. Relax, give yourself grace. It's going to take time, because you want to ensure, if you want to be an influential leader, if you really want to make a difference, you have to spend the time really preparing for an employee's appraisal. It's important. Feedback is important. There are people that look forward to it. I look forward to those types of things. I remember one time, and I'm going off a little bit off the script. I remember one time I was at a particular workplace in a job, and I had bust my ass all year, and my manager at the time, she came in, she was quite new, and there was a deadline. They use a particular system that after a while, if the managers didn't get in everything, the system will just kind of close it out. And that's what happened. It was not important to her, and I remember feeling so upset because I wanted feedback. I wanted to go in there. I was going to use it as an opportunity to negotiate a higher salary, right? Because I had all my receipts, I had done all the things, and this lady, and you can probably tell it still upsets me to this day, she just didn't care. And so you have to spend the time. You have to spend the time to prepare for an employee's appraisal. You might be wondering what happened. I left that company shortly after. It was just another host of, it was just like the cherry on top, right? And then still talking about what's happening at work, that you're probably in a cycle, that things are happening, are corporate visits. So corporate visits, if you work for a company that has people coming in, or maybe it's investors in your case, you have to prepare. Depending on your role, you have to prepare for that. In my case, I have to make presentations. I have to prepare my presentation. I have to sit with my boss. I have to review it, and I have to make the presentation. So it's a whole thing. And you know, last year for me at my 9 to 5, that happened quite often. So corporate visits, and lastly, you know, budgeting and the planning process for the budget for the company's year. And so these are things that are happening in your day-to-day, and you are trying to do all the things. Remember, it's a cycle. And so if it means that you need to lend your attention to this particular thing until it's completed, then that's fine. Maybe you need to chunk it up. Maybe there's a delay, and that's okay. But it's important for you to be aware what's going on, so you're not just operating in the same way all the time. And then I have some questions here. I have some questions here that you need to ask yourself as a wrap up. I know this segment is a little bit long, but trust me, when I heard that a little bit of grace, and it really shifted my mindset, because now when I'm involved in something, I really need to look at what kind of season is this in my life. What's the cycle? Is this a part of a cycle? And it most likely is. This particular project, thing, task, a part of a cycle? Yes. And I'm doing my best, and I'm doing it well, and that's okay. And so it's important to know that your work has a cycle, right? There's seasons and there's cycles. And so you might want to ask yourself, what's most important right now? What is most important right now? This one is huge. What do I need to give my attention to? What do I need to give my attention to? Our attention is our focus, is our life force, it's everything. So what do you need to give your attention to? What does it mean about me if I don't complete a task? And this is a huge one. So many times we make it like we're bad, or we're incompetent, or it means something about our skills and abilities because we haven't done X, Y, and Z. We haven't completed X, Y, and Z, right? Why are we making it about us? Why does it have to mean something is wrong with us? So I want you to really think about these, and I really hope that this helps you. I really hope that you know, it gives you the mindset shift that it did. I really hope that it gives you grace, right? And you let yourself off the hook, and that you will look at your priorities in a different way. You would look at how you manage your work day in a different way. All right, let me know how it turns out. Send me a DM, send me a message.